Hello, thanks for stopping by. The Bootcast Synth of the Month is the Roland S-1. Do you remember your first love? In 1985, I first set eyes on the Roland SH-101 at school in an empty music room whilst avoiding double history. I wasn't moved at first, but little did I know some seeds were being planted by the grey plastic synth, which ultimately brought me to where I am today, forever yearning for something electrical in my ears. Roland have been releasing ACB emulations of their old classics for a while now. I even got the boutique 909 emulation, but I had to get rid of it because it was so small I feared one day I would either step on or swallow it. So here's the S1, Roland's ACB emulation of the SH-101, even smaller than the boutique 909, and once again, I risk a choking hazard with a microscopic synth. But will I make it to the end? And will I fall in love all over again? Yep, the Roland S1. It's pretty small. It's modelled on an SH-101. It's got a lot of controls on the front inside this tiny form factor. Oh, by the way, I should explain my nail. I had a bit of an incident with a chopping knife and my fingernail, and Bridget has supplied me with a fake nail, and I've painted it green to match the sides of the S1, so just to explain in case it's distracting you. But anyway, yeah, even on the small amount of space we have here, we've got a lot of controls. Let's go to an initialized patch. I'm playing it from the key step, by the way, but you can play it from here. Hey, it's a 2-octave keyboard, which is impressive because it's so small. But yeah, on the front panel we have an LFO. So let's apply LFO to pitch, and let's just listen to one oscillator for this purpose. These are all tiny little knobs, but they're not too difficult to go for. So we've got a saw wave. Goes very slow. Also, if we go to shift, we can change the LFO condition to fast. Which is, that's a lot faster than the original SH-101 could go. Let's put it back to normal. There we go, on pitch. We've also got down saw. We have triangle, a square, it's bipolar. That makes it quite tricky. That's not bad. And next we have random. And finally, noise. Put up the release. A lot more waveforms than we had on the SH-101 for the LFO. Let's turn that back off. So in the oscillator, we have the familiar collection. So we've got the square. We've got a saw. We got a sub, and we got noise. So there's a lot of control here without having to go through any pages of menus or change things. We've got quite a lot of control. But suppose we want to get access to the sub oscillator though. So we've got 1 octave down square there. Suppose we want the 2 octave down one. Well, so many of these knobs, in fact, I think all of these knobs and buttons and switches, if you press shift, all of this flashes, but a lot of these knobs do different things too. But here we've got a sub oscillator. We can select 1 octave down, 2 octaves down, 2 octaves down, narrow pulse. So that's all of the controls that you get on the SH-101, just with one shift well, a shift press and a press of that sub-octave button. Exit is your friend. What about if we want to have pulse width modulation of the square wave here? So press shift and just turn the little knob. And there's the speed. Let's slow it down. And you can't fail to have noticed, and you know already, this thing is polyphonic. 4 notes would be great if it was 6, wouldn't it? I mean, why would anyone buy the little boutique Juno? Anyway, got square, we got saw, we got sub, we've also got noise. Now on noise, let's press. That sounds like pink noise. We can change it to white. So you see what I mean? Although it's very compact, a lot of the controls are already there. The ones that are missing are generally, not all the time, but generally just under one shift button push, and you've got access to all this other stuff. And the filter. Get out of noise, get out of saw. So it's 255 steps in this filter. I'll just put a little sequence in. On the filter we have frequency cutoff. We have resonance. We have LFO, which is currently set to noise, so let's put it onto something. There we go. So now we've got the triangle waveform LFO, changing the filter, and now we can add the envelope. There's only one envelope. So that's a lot of fun. Just like in the SH-101, so there's only one envelope. We can do the kick drum fun. But you see, we're not tracking the keyboard, but we can track the keyboard. So we simply go to Shift, and filter keyboard is here, button number 7. Do that, turn it up. So yeah, as you can hear, it's now tracking the keyboard. So now that's tracking the keyboard. We can also, if you really want to get that kick sound happening, we can modulate the filter with the single envelope. If you want to make kick drum noises though, it does die away because the amplifier is going through this single envelope as well. But just like on the original SH-101, you can press Shift, go to Amp. You get to choose what's controlling the amplifier, so we can do it through the envelope or through just a simple gate. So now that's basically the amplifier is going through a simple note on, note off envelope, and we'll exit there. And that makes it possible to make these really chunky Kraftwerky style snappy sounds like that. Put a bit of noise in. Yeah, okay, and yeah, so the filter sounds good. Lots of other people have compared it directly with the SH-101 and found it actually comes through rather well. This is the Roland ACB, Analog Circuit Behaviour Modelling, which many people feel is a little bit more fun than the Zencore. I have no real opinion about the Zencore, apart from I did play the Juno X at the opening of the Roland shop, and I did mention how much it felt like someone had reanimated a much beloved and deceased pet. It looked like your old darling, and it sort of sounded a bit like your old darling, but when you look it in the eyes, there's something wrong. That's how I felt about the Zencore engine. It just, I don't know, it's a lot of people love it. Okay, I'm not going to try and I don't want to have another fight with you all on the bloody internet. But that's my personal opinion, all right? Okay, good. That's that sorted then. But I think that's basically it. You see, it's a very simple synth. We've got one oscillator, one sub-oscillator. We've got a bit of control, and it does the classic sort of thing. So I'll just go into... So the way you select sounds is you press pattern, and you press and hold. You get 4 banks of 16, so we'll choose bank 4. Once you release the pattern button, you can select a sound, so we'll select this one. And to my ears, it sounds really delightful. We've got effects as well. So it's, again, simple controls on the front panel. We have a reverb and a delay. Let's turn up the level of the reverb. So this is just one knob. So I've got it set on an incredibly long reverb. Might turn it down a little bit. Anyway, kind of an organy sound. That reverb's quite long, isn't it? How do we make it shorter? Well, on the S1, considering it's so small, there are usually 2 ways of doing everything, and there's a very quick and simple way of shortening your reverb. You press Shift, and you just turn this knob, and it turns the time down. There we go. If you want more control over the reverb, we could press Shift and hit the reverb button down here. And here we have reverb type. So we'll press Enter. So back to the beginning. What it calls ambience. A room. A hall. Another hall. A plate. A spring. Modulated reverb. There we go. Let's go back to this spring. Exit there. So that's the types. We can then choose the time here, but obviously there's a quicker way. Shift and just turn the reverb knob. Level, again, that's just the reverb knob on its own. Pre-delay, so we can enter into here. And then a low cut. So you can go from flat, and then you can choose the frequency at which you cut the reverb off. Gone quite high there. And then there's high cut. Made that flat. So that gradually darkens the reverb. And then density. So let's enter into here. What does this do? So let's listen. Yes, you can hear it's broken it up into its individual reflections. So it's nice. You can turn it up a bit. You can get a gritty little reverb out of it. Or go all the way up to there. And let's exit here. And I'll just turn up the length. So there's quite a nice reverb. And it's stereo. There's also a delay. Let's turn the reverb off. Wow, that's really short. Let's make it longer. Again, Shift and delay changes the time. And it's tempo synced in this case. Yeah, again, we can go into the delay and we can change various things. So delay sync, turn it off, enter. So I'll just leave a sequence going. And when you connect external sequencing things to it, it picks up the tempo of the incoming sequence and applies it to the delay. Let's just go back here. Oh, exit. Where are we? Goes really short as well. Incredibly short, actually. Almost flange territory. In fact, definitely flange territory. So the effects are really good and the oscillator's really good, but it's a simple synth, isn't it? Not a great deal more to say about it apart from these buttons here. So we can draw and chop the waveforms. If you listen to this sound here, there's a lot of effects on it. If you can hear that, one of these waveforms has been mangled by draw or chop, and I can't remember which, but we will find out. Possibly that one. Definitely that one. So if we go into, I'm pretty sure that's chop, we'll go to output and we'll turn it down. Fantastic. So there is our classic sawtooth. But if I apply the chop, so this output, if I exit here, when you press shift and hold chop, you get this out n message. It's letting you choose how much of the chop effect you're going to apply. So we can do this. And as we add it, you can hear there's a kind of almost aliasing, very digital, I don't know, not quite PPG wave, but that kind of era of digital synth, that it's got that odd clang to it. Now, if we exit here and go over to the saw, we can apply chop to all of the waveforms, by the way. We'll go into saw though, and you can basically remove chunks of the waveform. And we've got 16 steps along the bottom. So without removing any, sounds like that, like a sawtooth. But if we remove bits, we can gradually sort of, in a sort of additive, almost sounding kind of way, change bits of the waveform. So we get actually quite unpleasant. But very useful. And we'll just turn up the square here. I mean, could that almost be a slap bass? I don't know. What do you think? That no longer sounds like an SH-101. And it doesn't stop there. We've also got an additional control in chop, which is comb. So we'll just go to the end, go to enter. And it's quite subtle, but you can hear that. None of these can be modulated by envelopes or LFOs, but they can be automated in the sequencer. Let's exit that. So there is a simpler way of changing the chop depth and the amount of comb going on. So we can go a little sequence here, press shift. So shift and LFO changes the chop depth, and shift and sub controls the comb. And if I hit record and it's recorded the motion sequence there. Stop that. So yeah, there are up to 8 parameters can be motion sequenced per step. I do frequently run into the dreaded full notification, which comes up here when you've filled up all your slots. And that seems to happen a lot more quickly than I would normally expect. But hey, I wish it did the same thing as the Volca Keys does, where it just keeps adding it and it just overwrites the oldest one. I think that's what the Volca Keys does anyway. But yeah, when you get the full message, it often makes me go, oh, shut up. You're not full. I haven't finished with you yet. Anyway, that's me picking on a tiny little synth. Yeah, I mean, you saw it here first. I'm a bully. But yeah, as you can see, we've got a lot of extra sonic capability coming out of this synthesizer. It's polyphonic, 4 notes polyphonic, but we can change the polyphony. We can go to unison, and classic mono, and chord mode. Let's stay away from there, but I will stay on poly for the moment. There is another way of changing the sounds here, and that's the draw mode. So we shift and draw, and this is only available on the square waveform, and we hit enter and we can turn it on, and we got a choice of step or slope, and I'll just go back here and turn it off. So that's our square wave. I'll go to slope. it has changed our square wave into a triangle wave. Exit. There is an easier way of doing this. Let's exit again. We both shift and the sawtooth waveform knob gets us straight there. So there's our square, there's a slope, and also there is the step, which is a sort of, sounds like an aliased sort of triangle. I mean, you will have seen other demonstrations of this with oscilloscopes, and believe me, I was looking for an oscilloscope the other day. I just don't know enough about them. Anyone out there know stuff about oscilloscopes? I mean, that might be useful. But we're not going to do the visual thing here. We're going to listen to what it sounds like. And I would say that, again, sounds digital. Almost like a sort of bit reduction type thing. Go back into draw, go forward, and into this form parameter. Press enter. Now we have the triangle waveform represented across these 16 buttons along the bottom. I'll just hit play. So if we press and hold a step, we can then adjust it. And as you can hear, you can really change the basic waveform quite dramatically. Quite far with that one. We're in step mode. If we go to slope mode, it sort of smooths things off a little bit. Just removing some of those higher frequency content bits there. So that's, yeah, all very well and good. So as you can hear, I mean, again, it no longer sounds like an SH-101. We also have a multiply button here. It gives us a sort of sync sound type thing. Again, unfortunately, it can't be modulated by the envelope or by the LFO, but it can be automated in sequencing. So let's exit here. So again, there's a shortcut for the multiply if we hit a sequence. Shift and square wave knob. Allows us to access that quickly and simply. Let's just put a quick sequence in here. Continue to record, so shift. There we've got the movement recorded. Let's have some filter in there as well. Let's try and fill it up. We can also... let's go again. Bit of noise. Tempo's here. Let's add a bit of reverb. Oh. Yeah, that's called going way too far. But yeah, the sequence is great. So with motion sequencing and everything, you can get these kinds of interesting, almost drum pattern-y type things. Here we go. That reminds me of the man in the white suit, if you know what I'm talking about. Alec Guinness film. There's a very classic piece of radiophonic workshop style electroacoustic sound in the man with the white suit. That sounds a bit like it to me. So that's real-time recording, but we can also do step recording, press record, and you can scroll through the steps. There's all our bits. But if you press step as well, you can preview each individual step. So suppose I want to change that. So let's add a lot of noise. Oh, there we go. The dreaded full warning. Let me just shift and clear motion. Enter. Done. Okay, we can start again. So there's no motion on here now. Let's hit play. So we're still in step mode. So there's our steps. Right, I want that to have very bright filter. Let's hit play again. So this way we could conceivably kind of build up a drum pattern. So let's go step 1. Let's make it into a kick. Full already. Oh dear. It's full already. Okay, am I doing something wrong? I want to just keep going and it won't let me continue adding. Oh well, perhaps I've done this all wrong. Anyway, the idea is that per step you can change filter settings and envelope settings per step. You're supposed to be able to have up to 8 things moving at once during each step, but as you saw, I just got into full. 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 Or maybe I'm the fool. I don't know. So this is an interesting thing about this little synth. It's sonically rather impressive. I have a sort of issue with emulations of general kind. So, I mean, we've had several tape emulation pedals and I love them. The ease of use and the convenience is brilliant. But there's something always in the back of my head where it's like, well, why are you pretending you've got an old reel-to-reel echo unit? I wonder if that's what's happening here. It sounds great. With my eyes closed, it sounds great. But when I look at it, it's too small. I mean, I could literally lose it down the Don't make me say the crack of my ass. I could literally lose it down the back of the sofa. I mean, it would fit into a toaster. It's so ridiculously small. But having said that, if you've looked at the prices of used SH-101s lately, I guess you could get, the Behringer MS-101. I've never tried one. But this is, I've seen one for sale for about 150 quid. I'm sure you can get them secondhand, even cheaper. It's pretty good, right? Yeah. Another look at the sequencer. There are other things you can do here. So the sequencer has up to 64 steps, but you can have any combination from 1 to 64. So you can get nice odd lengths and interesting sort of loping over themselves things happening. We've also got ratcheting and various other features. So if we press step and we press and hold a note, the demotion button lights up and we can hit it and patch through. So let's just go through. So the first one is velocity, so we can bring up the velocity of this. Yeah, very subtle. The next, press demotion again, is gate length, so we can change the gate length for each note. The next one is probability, so if I hold it here, press it through again, that's annoying. So each time you can't just go to the next note and still do the probability. So I'm going to turn the probability down for some of these so that you can hear the probabilities going. Sometimes it's hitting it, sometimes it's not. Still in step mode, so I'll press this one here. So velocity, gate, probability and ratcheting, so we can add ratchet. A little bit of diddling. There we go, and we go up to 64 steps. Pretty quick. Quite lovely, and also there are some patterns in here, which is just adds a bit of trippiness to it. And also a recent update, so there's a key transpose button here. It used to be that you could only transpose it in semitones up and down with a knob, which is pretty useless. But now if you press shift, you can move it around, which makes it more musically useful. Certainly something I like to do a lot. I really ought to use this synth a lot more, shouldn't I? It's so small. It's the sort of mini jack MIDI as well. And as you can see, we've had to use an adapter to connect it to this plug, which is annoying. So it's other little bits that go on here. I don't know if a MIDI proper 5-pin would fit on the back of here, but it's got a built-in battery, which is also a worry. What happens when that goes? Because they inevitably do. So it's great. I don't use it nearly enough. We've got the range knob here as well. Bring in some effect. It really is astonishing. I actually wish I was 15 again. And with all the extra draw and chop waveforms and the fact that you can add those extra flavors, those slightly more digital, additive style, maybe even sort of wavetabley, sort of PPG wave type sounds, it's quite astonishing, isn't it? Whoa. But yeah, that's the Roland S-1, long overdue. It's a really nice synth. I really need to use it more.